All right, how's it going, my comic chat army? We're here today with the two creators of By the Horns. We've got, I guess we're gonna start on my left. Tell us who you are.
We have to know which one's on the
Yeah.
left.
Whoever wants to go first.
Go ahead, Jason.
All right, I'm Jason Muhr. I am the artist and co-creator of By the Horns.
And I'm Markisan Naso, and I'm the writer and co-creator of By the Horns. And Voracious, we both did Voracious as well.
Yep, that was our first book.
Where can people find it?
Voracious, you can find, comic shops if they have it. They can still order it, I believe, or Amazon. Or Comixology. It's on Comixology. I believe it's even on Comixology Unlimited, so if you have an unlimited subscription, I think you can read it for free. Yeah, okay. All 15 issues. There are 15 issues of Voracious? 14?
It was 14, but we did like extra size ones.
Yeah, it was 14 issues, but the first issue was double, so it's 15 chapters, 14 issues.
And that came out from Action Lab. And then now our new book, By the Horns, comes out from Scoutcomics. So, you can get it at your local comic shop. You can go to Scout's website and pick up issues. They have some rare variants. You can go to our personal websites and pick up the comics too, signed.
Yep.
Markisan.com and jasonmuhr.com.
Yep.
All right. So what was the creative process for Behind the Horns? Or By the Horns? Sorry.
Well, how did it come about?
Yes.
Well, Jason and I, we did Voracious, did 3 volumes of that, and then we knew we wanted to do another book together. And I had a few ideas, and we wanted to do something different than Voracious. So fantasy was something that we had talked about a little bit. And so I had an idea for a fantasy book, and Jason liked that idea. So whenever we work on books together, I come up with the idea. I usually have a bunch of story elements and things like that, but then I bring it to Jason, and then we talk about it and we kind of workshop it together so that the story is something that we both really believe in, that we're really invested in. And after we do that and talk about characters and the world, then I write the script for the issues. So that's how it works.
Nice. How did y'all get the comic to Scout?
We pitched it to him. We submitted them, and we had submitted to I think a few places, but Scout was high on our list of a publisher we want to work with because they're doing some really interesting books right now. Mm-hmm. And luckily, Scout felt the same way about us. We like Scout, Scout liked us, and yeah.
Well, it was in the pandemic. It was kind of funny because we pitched it right before the pandemic hit. So we were actually a little bit worried about it too. We didn't pitch that many companies because we weren't sure what was going to happen to some of these companies with COVID-19 because, as you know, Diamond shut down for a while. Comic shops didn't know how their businesses were going to survive. How are they going to keep going? And it didn't seem like comic book companies that they wanted to put out new material or just unsure about what they were going to do. So we only pitched a few companies, but Scout, like Jason said, it was very high on our list. And then, they were interested in the book. And what's cool about it is that when we pitched it, Scout, they had a lot of cool books and everything, but they weren't doing everything that they're doing right now. All their cool initiatives that they have, where they have a all ages imprint. They've got a horror imprint. They've made all kinds of deals with distributors. There's been movie announcements, and just like a plethora of books have been announced since we joined with Scout. So we're really excited about the direction of the company. I'm really proud to have By the Horns as part of that.
Yeah, working with them is really nice. They're really supportive. They're really on the ball with stuff. The behind the scenes stuff, they take care of so much of it, and they're just a dream to work with. I mean, I can say, so originally when we pitched the book, it was 6 issues, and then we told Scout, actually, the story's kind of expanding a little. I think we want to do a 7th issue. And then we're like, actually, you know what? The story's kind of expanding a little bit more. So the first arc got pushed to 8 issues. And every time they're like, yeah, cool. They were really amicable about it.
So is the book finished right now, or are y'all still working on it?
I'm about to start drawing issue 7.
Wow.
So we're
All right.
pretty far ahead on the book.
Okay.
Yeah, we took a little break so Jason could he did another issue for a different company, and because we were so far ahead on it. And like Jason said, it was originally 6. I really wanted to do 7, and but Jason's like, well, maybe we could do 6 because it's hard for him. He has to spend all his time drawing it, so we have to kind of be economical about it. Like how many issues can we get done before we have to do some paid work? And but this one issue just I couldn't let go of it, and I would dream about it. I wrote it in my sleep, and for like a month, and then one day I was like, I just have to get this down on paper. So I actually wrote it in a day, which is really fast for me to write a script. Sent it to Jason and gave my reasons why, and he was like, okay. And then because it's an important issue, I think, to the series. And then we've been talking about doing more. We have maybe 4 or 5 different story arcs, I think, just from talking. And so Jason and I discussed that. And so we asked Scout if we could do more, if we could continue the book. And they greenlighted that. And then we asked if we could add another issue. So it's going to be 8 issues in the first arc. Then the trade will come out a couple of months after that. And then we're going to continue the series. So it's really exciting. We have so many cool ideas for this book, taking it in just really interesting and unique and unexpected directions, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
The good thing about the book too is it's a kind of a fantasy world that we built from the ground up, so we can kind of almost do any idea we come up with, It's our world, so if I come up with an idea like, oh, Markisan, I think they should be on a pirate ship. Sure, there can be pirate ships in this world, or
that is an actual idea, actually.
That is an actual idea we had. So yeah, funny, especially when I draw all day. I kind of like daydream in my head as I'm drawing, and I just come up with these scenarios. And I was like, can we fit this in the book? Can we fit this in the book? And I think the world is so robust and imaginative that we can fit most anything in the book. So yeah, we got ideas past this first arc for sure.
Yeah. Well, and for people who don't know about the book yet, it's By the Horns is basically The Last Unicorn meets Kill Bill. It's a sci-fi fantasy action series about a hunter named Elodie, and she wants to kill all the unicorns on the continent of Salafis for trampling her husband. But the problem is it's impossible to find unicorns. So Elodie just starts murdering anything out there with a horn in frustration. And unfortunately for her, that monster hunting affects her standing in her village where she lives called Wayfair, and she gets exiled. And so she leaves with her telepathic half-wolf, half-deer friend, Sajin, and they make one last go at tracking down unicorns and getting revenge. But then they end up discovering that there's a bigger threat to the world out there than unicorns. So the series is about, killing monsters, a lot of fighting in it, but it's also about a woman who feels like all she has left in her life is revenge. So she has to decide what's more important, getting back at the unicorns or standing up for the larger community and stopping a huge threat to Salafis.
Yeah, we read the book and reviewed it. We absolutely love it. Can't wait to see where the story goes. Because like you said, there's so many ways that you could go with this.
Yeah, I think what I like about our books is I think you're not going to be able to guess everything that happens in them. There's some twists and turns that we take. I think the path that we take for our stories with Voracious and with By the Horns is not. It's just not the one that readers would probably figure out or expect. Hopefully, So yeah, we're excited about that. We're excited about showing new characters. Issue 2, which comes out next week, kind of completes the cast for the book. So we're really excited to get those characters out because of course you can't fit everything in that first issue. Mm. And so we're really excited about how it unfolds and what you guys get to see next in the series.
I wish I had the.
I think issue 2 is a big issue too because The way Markisan described it, that's sort of the setup in issue 1. But I think by the end of issue 2, you realize, oh, like this is the real story. This is the real narrative thrust of the story. Once you meet all the characters, and I mean, without spoiling it, they kind of get sort of a mission going forward, and that's kind of like more what the book is about, and you can kind of see how the world's going to expand very quickly.
All right. I liked at the very end of the page that y'all showed concept of the colors that y'all chose and different, like a little inside to the book. Are y'all going to keep doing that as the series goes forward?
Yeah, I think every issue thus far has a concept thing. I mean, personally, as an artist, I love seeing that stuff. I always love when like trades or even issues themselves have, sketches of the characters, sketches of covers, and like a little thinking behind that. As someone that has to create so much stuff, because, one of the challenges with this book is like nothing exists. The world doesn't exist. The towns don't exist. The people don't exist. So I like looking at other concept art and seeing how other artists solved those problems and got to where they got. So it's fun for me to read that stuff. So hopefully it's fun for other people to read that stuff. So yeah, I definitely always do that with all our books.
All right. And as an artist and a writer, have y'all ever wrote yourself into the story in even just a small way?
Oh yeah, Jason's put us in. We're in Voracious. Are we in By the Horns?
Yeah, we are in By the Horns. We're in that special extra issue you were talking about.
Oh, that's right.
There's
right.
There's a
so
flashback coming up, and Markisan I and actually the colorist Andre are in the background, and kind of an important scene in the book. There's a big crowd shot, and we're pretty front and center there if you know what we look like.
Yeah, we've put other people in there. Well, actually, it's mostly Jason. I don't know that I've asked him to put one person in there before, but mostly it's Jason. He'll sprinkle in like his family members or him and me, or I think Jason's wife Ashley got in there, and so we enjoy doing that. We the worlds to us, like we care so much about our worlds, yet almost want to merge it with the real world. So it's nice to have those elements in it because it's like family. The book and our actual families like merged together.
Yeah,
friends and family.
Yeah, for our last book, Voracious, we did a Kickstarter for the last volume, and one of the Kickstarter rewards was you get to be drawn in the book and killed by a dinosaur. And so, the last issue had a few cameos by people that paid for that, and then friends and family that we got murdered by dinosaurs as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you got to draw crowd scenes, you just got to come up with faces. It's actually easier to like pick out family members because you get more distinct faces versus like, what's a generic face off the top of my head. It's fun, like casting background characters.
Oh, nice. And Voracious is on both y'all's website?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so for people that don't know what Voracious is about, Voracious is the story of a guy named Nate. It takes place in the real world. A guy named Nate, he is a chef at a restaurant, and the beginning of the story kind of suffers a tragedy. He loses his restaurant. He moves back to his hometown, and while he's there, he discovers that he has kind of a mad scientist uncle who left him some stuff in his will, and one of them is a time machine. He ends up going back to the time of the dinosaurs. While he's there, he accidentally kills a dinosaur, discovers they taste delicious, and decides to open up a restaurant that secretly serves dinosaur meat. So the book is about him going back to the past, getting this meat, kind of making sure it stays a secret. And then, of course, you can't have time travel and not have consequences. So there's massive consequences that come with that. So kind of the rest of the story is about dealing with screwing up the time stream.
Yeah. So yeah, we love doing that book. And so there's 3 volumes of that. It's a complete story, and the trade paperbacks are out. I mean, you can get them at a comic shop, Amazon, like I said, our websites. And then it has recipes in every single issue. So in the trade paperbacks, you get like 5-6 recipes with dinosaur meat, and then we tell you what the substitute meat is so you can make the recipes.
Yeah. And they're legit recipes. Some of them are from friends, family members, some restaurants, some professional chefs even contributed recipes. I've made a few of them. They're good. They're legit recipes. No dinosaur meat, but.
Well, which recipe would you recommend out of the book?
I like the chili that was in, I think, the first issue.
Yeah. Mark's chili.
Really
yeah. I mean, that's the best chili I've ever had. So.
It's a contest-winning chili. My sister actually made that chili, and I think it won a contest. There was like a chili-making contest with her and her friends. And I think that recipe won.
Well, he uses stew meat in it, and sausage, and it's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, to back it up just a little bit, how did y'all two meet to start working together? How did that come about?
Well, you want to go? I can
tell it. I can tell it.
So when I was 16, I worked in a comic shop, and Markisan was a customer there. He was one of the club customers that came in every week, and I got to know him there. And then at a certain point, Markisan had entered a contest through Wizard magazine. Is that right?
I don't think it was through Wizard. It was just I don't remember where it was from. It was an online contest. Yeah.
You write a script for The Authority, if you remember the book, The Authority, the Wildstorm book, and you won the contest, right?
Yes.
Yes. And then he brought in the script. He knew I wanted to draw, and he said, "Hey, would you like to draw my script?" And so I did it. Yeah, I did it for fun, and I was just about to leave for art school, so I drew the script, and then went away to art school, and I didn't see Markisan for a long time. And then I was working as a graphic designer for a few years. I kind of want to get back into comics. And then we had a mutual friend who was actually the manager of the comic book store, who Markisan and him were kind of cracking an idea for a series. And it wasn't really materializing, but he got us in contact because he knew I wanted to draw and Markisan wanted to write. So we met up again. Markisan showed me that story, which I hadn't seen in like almost a decade. I forgot I drew it. Like he
gave me the pages.
Yeah,
he gave me the pages, so I had saved them all that time, and so I gave them back to Jason.
Yeah, and I was like, these are clearly my drawings from 10 years ago, but I did not remember drawing it. So and then we hashed out some ideas, and one of the first ideas Markisan pitched me was Voracious, and I loved it. I love dinosaurs. He loved dinosaurs, so it seemed like a good fit, and that was actually both of our first work. Our first work together and first work in the comic industry was Voracious. So we were really lucky to get our first thing published by a company.
Yeah. I mean, we did the comic book ourselves and made a black and white ash can, and it was actually called Cretaceous at the time. So that was our first. We're like, let's just do this comic. So we did it, and we printed it, and we used it to pass to publishers, and we sold it at a convention. I think it was C2E2, right, Jason?
Yeah, in Chicago.
So we still have a few copies of those left. We only made 100 copies of it, but then we pitched it, and we had some interest, and then we had a different publisher actually at first, but things didn't work out. So we decided to retool the issue, get it colored, and we changed the name. And because it was our first comic, we made a few mistakes, I think, in that comic, and just got better by reworking it. And then we got Action Lab, and that's how we broke in.
Yeah, you could see like Voracious is interesting because it's our first book, and you can see from issue 1 to issue 14 the progression. We learn how to make a comic book, right in front of you. Like there's some rookie mistakes in the beginning, but hopefully I think it's still a good book from issue 1, but there's definitely things we tighten up along the way. So you can really see our progression as creatives as the book goes along.
Well, so like in Cretaceous, the first iteration of Voracious, you would open it up on the staple, and it's like 2 pages of dialogue. And so like publishers would point that out, like, oh, this is a lot of text, like right in the middle. It's where you naturally open up the issue. You shouldn't do that. And that early issue, Cretaceous, like it was double the amount of dialogue because I just felt like I had to put all this dialogue in. So I was learning the ropes, like how do I make it, how do I make it effective but less words? Just stuff like that. You read comics your whole life, but making comic books is different. You think when you start doing it because, I've read comics since I was like 5 years old. But no, it's completely different. There's things that you just don't think about when you're creating it. So I'm actually glad that we had that. We put it out ourselves, and then we kind of learned from it. And I think we just, hopefully we keep getting better.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on, gentlemen. 20 minutes goes by pretty quick. Is there anything that you want to say to the people out there before we go?
Go
ahead.
Yeah, I mean, pick up By the Horns. It's coming out now. The second issue is out on June 2nd, and from Scoutcomics. And pick up a lot of Scout comic books because they're doing amazing series right now. Not just our books, but across the board. So and thanks to everybody who has picked up by the horns so far. Like, we really appreciate all the love and the messages and the great reviews we've been getting for the book.
Yeah, it's really encouraging, the fan response, because thus far only one issue has come out, but I feel like we have already tons of fans who are really invested in the book, and that's so awesome, and it fuels us. And like you said, issue 2 is out next week. There's actually because there was a delay in issue 2. There's actually going to be 2 issues out in June. So issue 3 is out at the end of June, and then we're monthly after that for the next 8 issues. Like I said, we're pretty far ahead, so there's no worrying about the book not coming out on time, and we're having a ton of fun doing it. So hopefully, when people read it, they can see that it shows through on the page.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Thank you.